Hello everyone, welcome back to the Zekko Football channel. Brighton and Hove Albion might have pulled off one of the signings of the summer by getting the signature of Ansu Fati. Today we're going to be having a look at how Ansu Fati could impact this Brighton side going forwards. If you are new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe, you like the video and turn on those notifications. And now let's talk about Ansu Fati and Brighton and Hove Albion. Brighton and Hove Albion and Ansu Fati, a team and matchup that I never thought I would be saying, but I'm very glad I am because I think this could be one of the signings of the summer. I think it's important to give a little bit of context to this deal before we progress any further. If you're unfamiliar with who Ansu Fati is, he's a 20-year-old Spanish forward. And he actually broke onto the scene for Barcelona at the age of 16, I believe becoming their youngest ever scorer in the Champions League. He went on and kicked on to really have a fantastic campaign with them while still at school. And it's important to remember this because towards the around about when he was 18, I'd say, he started to get riddled with injury. He actually picked up quite a few knocks and really it hampered his progression in this Barcelona side. And when we actually think about Ansu Fati, I think we think of it as a distant memory, a teenager that just didn't work, a player that just couldn't find his fitness. But he's 20. He's a child. He's an actual child. So really, he's got so many years ahead of him, and I think Brighton have taken a gamble on him to make sure that he's fully fit and also to have that dynamic ability that we once saw at Barcelona. It helps Barcelona out and allows them to monitor his progression. The details of this deal are that it's a loan with no option or obligation to buy, which I think suits both parties. Barcelona, if Ansu Fati has a good season, will want him back. Brighton will be able to reap the rewards of having a player of this profile in the squad. And I just think it makes a lot of sense. Ansu Fati can play as a left winger. He can also play as a central striker if you ever wish. He can also play as a central attacking midfielder at times. Not so much on the right, I wouldn't necessarily advise that, but he can drift into the centre of the pitch, and I think it's down to this and down to the profile of play that Brighton actually take up that makes this such an enticing offer. I know he had options towards Liverpool possibly, towards Tottenham, but he's chosen Brighton, or Brighton seems to be the best avenue, and I think that's probably because Brighton are arguably the best footballing side in the league. He's able to drift into pockets of space, not necessarily worry about too many defensive issues, and at the same time express himself in the way that he's been able to at Barcelona for so many years without necessarily the pressure that's been mounting on him. Again, 20 years old, and a lot is being expected of this Spanish wonder kid. But how could he impact this Brighton and Hove Albion side? Well, I think he could be in a 1v1 battle with Mitoma on numerous occasions. I think Mitoma is absolutely fantastic, but the fact that he's continuously being played will eventually burn him out, and I do think that's a fact. And just from a tactical point of view, Ansu Fati gives you so much more. He gives you an option to play as a number 10. He gives you an option to play as a striker. He can play as a forward as well. Not necessarily a better tactical option than Mitoma, but just a different option, and something that I think that Brighton are going to need if they're going to be playing better teams and expecting better performances. They're going to need to adapt themselves at some stage to match the teams that they're playing against. What can we expect from Ansu Fati? We can expect him driving in towards the box. He actually has an extremely high amount of touches in the attacking penalty area. He has 8.18 per 90. That puts him in the 99th percentile against players in his position, that's left wing, in Europe's top 5 leagues. He has a pass completion of 83.8%. Disregard that. 83.8%. And that puts him in the 94th percentile in Europe's top 5 leagues. And then we talk about his goals. He has non-penalty goals of 0.33 per 90, which for a forward on the left-hand side is actually ridiculous. That puts him in the 81st percentile. I need to stop doing these decimal points. He has a non-penalty XG of 0.55 per 90, and that puts him in the 99th percentile. I spoke about his 12 games that he had under fitness for Barcelona, and out of those 12 games he had an XG of 9. So he's got numbers to back up his performances. He just needs a run of games to really get him going, and I think in this Brighton team, in this Brighton setup, he could really find his feet. Not only do Brighton have the ability to really coax teams in, they just bring them out and they take them to places in the pitch that I think opposition would assume that Brighton don't want to be, but they do. They just lure them in and allow them to really start to press. They do a full press, they press, and then that opens up the space for the likes of Ansu Fati, for Danny Welbeck, for Solly March, and then the space is there for them to quickly transition forwards. And here we've got the space highlighted that Ansu Fati can then drive into. He's got blistering pace, he's extremely fast, he's got a good first touch in him, and I think he could work very well in this Brighton setup with their quick transitional play, with the ability that they could find both of their wingers, and then, like I said, the transition will be absolutely devastating. As for a general player, I think his build-up play is quite good. It's not necessarily the best, but it's something that can be worked on. Remember, he's not very old at all, and in this Brighton team where everyone is improving, I think he could make a name for himself. Ansu Fati is a name that I did not expect to be talking about with regards to Brighton and Hove Albion, but I'm very excited and happy that I am, because I think he's an absolute gem. I actually think he's been not necessarily wasted at Barcelona, but I do think that he's not had the chance to shine last season that he might have wanted to. A different avenue, a different horizon might be able to give his priorities a bit of a shake-up, and who knows, perhaps he could make his stay at Brighton a little bit longer. But for that, he needs to play good football. He needs to have a lot of game time, a lot of minutes, and I think he'll get that in this system. Combining with the rest of his teammates, I think he'll be absolutely fine, and then we're expecting goals from him, aren't we, really? So I'm excited about this. But what I want to know is, how are you guys feeling about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and how you believe Ansu Fati could impact this Brighton and Hove Albion side. Brighton fans, are you excited? You should be, because he's quite the gem. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something new. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, take care.